Hi there, Karen here, and today I'm doing my very first layout of the arrival of my little granddaughter Alyssa Jane, and I'm using this photograph taken on the day she was born with my daughter, looking happy but tired, I would say. And I've chosen to use the Coco Vanilla Bohemian Dream collection because all the colours in the collection definitely reflect the colours in this photograph. With the purples and the blues and the peachy colours, all of which are in the photo. And so I'm just going through all the papers there just to try and find the right backing papers for the photo, and just turning them over. That floral one just goes really well with the pattern on my daughter's top there. So I'm going to be using some of that, and I'm just cutting down and backing the photo with these turquoisey colours. I think the photograph makes Alyssa look quite long because she's clearly enjoying stretching out after being curled up for so long. She was 2 whole weeks overdue, and I think she'd got fed up with being curled up, so she's stretching herself out there on her mummy's lap. But actually she looks quite long, but she was really very tiny. As you can probably see, if you look at my daughter's hand, she actually takes up most of her body, so she was really quite a little tiny scrap. But the angle on the photograph makes her look like she was bigger than she really was, and she still is a tiny little scrap. She's gorgeous. So I'm just backing these papers. I really like this peachy one with the little hearts on it. I'm just making sure there what's on the back, and in the end of the design, well, I'm just going to cut round here anyway because it's the cut apart sheet on the other side, and I thought, well, there might be some cut aparts I want to use, but I'm not going to worry about that too much because I felt it just needed a bit more of that peachy colour because Alyssa's got a peachy rim on her little hat that the hospital gave her, and there's a little bit of that colour also in her little sleep suit. So now I've decided, and at the moment I must just apologise for the paper, the cardstock being a bit off to the side here, so you can just about see what I'm doing. I'm doing a bit of mixed media there with some. I think this is the pick. See, I'll just check what colour I'm using here. Yes, I'm using a distressing. It's Cedars Preserves is the colour I'm using, which seems to go quite well with the papers. I went a little bit mad with it, and I wasn't too keen on how far it splattered in the end, but can't do much about it. I've managed to cover some of it up. And now I'm trying to pick out some of the blues. I'm using a gelato here. I think I used a couple of different gelatos of similar colours, trying to pick out the turquoisey colours in the papers and in the photo. And it kind of got there in the end. I think I ended up using a spray mist as well, just because I was struggling to find just the right colour to reflect the colours in the papers. But I keep splodging away, having another go, and matching it up with the colours in the papers. Just going to do a little bit more with the gelato. I think this is a different gelato, slightly light, a little lighter, this one. So I'm so sorry that this is off to the left hand side a bit. I didn't realise how far off from I was filming. You can see what I'm actually doing on the packaging paper, but you can't see very well how it's going on the backing on the cardstock. I do put it right eventually and put it for more central. You can pretty well see what I'm doing. It's just not ideal, so I do apologise for that. So now I've picked out one of my little Versamark inks, and that's another colour. This one's called Celadon. It's a sort of turquoisey, slightly turquoisey. It's not the full turquoise, but it's another pale bluey greeny colour, sort of like an aqua. Giving that a go, and it's not bad. It's still a little bit, it's not quite right. I just keep having a go at it. So while I'm thinking about what else I need to do on that, I thought I'd just cut a couple of strips of this really pretty heart paper. So I wanted to use it. I felt perhaps the picture needed something to border it, top and bottom. So I cut a couple of strips from the heart paper and then this dark blue, and I'm going to play around with that for a bit, trying to make that, to see if that brings the picture together a bit, or the layout together a bit. And it's not entirely successful, but that's one of the things I keep having a go with. So I'm just So now I've gone back to my mixed media. I thought, all right, now I'm going to put a bit of Heidi Swapp colour shine on it. This is the peach. So I'm starting with a few splatters. See how that looks. They get a bit lost really in the general messiness of the whole thing. I will come back and do a bit more with that in a minute. Trying on the paper, yeah, it doesn't really do much. So now I'm going to actually spray it onto the packaging paper, onto the packaging, the packaging. Do a bit of packaging technique with it and splodge it a bit to get a bit more of it. And where it dries, it does get that lovely, pretty sheen, which I do really like that. So you do pick that up a little bit around the edges. Now these are those 2 strips that I thought I might try and use. I play around with them on and off for a while. In the end, they don't make it onto the page. Well, one of them does, but not in that position. It just actually made it look too heavy. I come up with a different solution later on, which you'll see, which I think works a bit better. Now I think I need a bit more colour shine. Oh, well, there we go. I'd forgotten I'd done that twice. So I'm just trying with a little bit more, making sure it's nice and visible around the paper. Once I put the backing paper on, because although it looks quite a lot on the page, most of it gets covered up, as you can see there. I just want to make sure there was a bit poking around all sides. And now I've discovered this. This is the London Blue. I can never remember the make of these, but it's the London Blue with a watered down version of the London Blue spray mist. And then I decided that this piece of square floral paper, beautiful as it is, was a little bit heavy and a bit square, and it needed softening. So I've got out one of my Martha Stewart edger punches, and I'm just punching right along the edge. I think this is called Optic Dot or something like that. It's got a nice little scallopy edge with a dot in it, and it's one of my favourites. I use it quite a lot. And so I've just done that, just down at the sides. I do have the corner punch as well to go all the way around, but you have to be so careful with the sizing, otherwise it all goes horribly wrong. So I didn't go for that one. And now I'm trying to find a way to use these hearts again. I was determined to try and get some of this strip of hearts on there somehow. I do manage to get one strip on in the end. And I'm trying out doing it on the wonky, doing the wonky sort of backing papers, and wasn't sure about that, and just using one strip top and bottom. Actually, looking at it, I quite like the dark blue, just the one strip. I think I wish I'd stuck with that now, but I didn't. When I was trying to put this lovely peachy heart paper behind, that didn't look right, so I had to straighten it all up so that worked behind there. So now I've got, this is I didn't actually film this to start with. I didn't realise I had turned the camera off. As you can see, I've done some washi tape along the edge, which isn't quite as heavy as those cardstock strips. So I've done one right along the top there in a sort of purple floral, and then a couple of little strips in the sort of orange and a pale aqua, so that it picks out the colours that I'm working with, but in a washi rather than in the cardstock. And I thought that perhaps was a little bit light. Didn't make the layout look so closed in and heavy, but it still gives it that sort of border that I felt it needed, something to bring it together. So I'm reasonably happy with that. I'm not absolutely happy with everything on this layout. It ended up, to my eye, looking a bit messier than I would have liked, but I kept going and I stayed with it, and I'm happy with it, but I'm not thrilled with it, shall we say, in the end. So I'm just cutting these little, I don't know what we'll call them, fishtail banner bits on. So I'm just tucking them in either side. So it looks like one long strip, but I only had a couple of little pieces. So I've just used those behind the main, the turquoise backing piece. And to start with, even though I keep looking, I end up putting them on the wrong way round. As you'll see, the hearts ended up being upside down, so I have to take them off and do it again. Nope, upside down, do it again. I think I'll get it right this time. so that's gone behind there. And then I've decided just this one strip of the hearts. I told you I was determined to get it on the layout, and I've gone for a single strip and just gone across the middle instead of top and bottom. Hearts seem to be very important. I think it's important to get some hearts on all of these layouts about Alyssa. So I think that works quite well. Then I decided that all those papers, those backing papers, just needed a bit of a border, so they don't, because the floral piece is so bold, they almost fade into it. So I wanted to give all of these lighter pieces just a light border of just a single edge with the pen. Well, a doodly border, as it's known. It's fairly doodly. I'm not very good at doing a straight line, so they're not very straight, but it just kind of edges the paper and makes them just a little bit stand up from that very busy background. So that's ready to be stuck. It seems to have taken me ages to get this layout up. I seem to have less time than I used to have now. With even though I'm not working as many hours, I seem to have less time to scrap, and I'm spending more time, of course, with my daughter. So it has taken me a while to get this layout up, but hopefully I'll be able to do a few more. I have so many photographs now already. She's only 2 weeks old, and I have enough photographs to scrap for the rest of the year, I think, already. I should probably have to do some pocket pages to be able to use all the photographs that I have. I'm just putting some of the craft foam on the back so that it just lifts it up a bit, lifts it away from that busy background a little. And now I'm just going through some of the embellishments. So I've got the chipboard sheet, which I'm just picking out. And the first one I picked up just says "Love You," and is in that lovely peachy colour. And I thought I just got to go there. Trying to decide on some what alphas I'm going to use for the title, trying to get the right colour. And this is a HipKit exclusive, and I thought that colour works quite well because it's that peachy warm colour. So I decided to use that. And I'm just putting it on, at the moment it's just going onto some wax paper so I can play around with placement, which I do for quite a while, as you will see in a moment, trying to decide where it's going to go. So it's just going to be called Here at Last, because we did have to wait rather a long time for her to arrive. She really did keep it to the very last minute. Those 2 weeks were, I think, the longest in my daughter's life. She was very uncomfortable by the end. But it's all forgotten now because she's so thrilled with her little daughter. So now I'm just playing around with where it's going to go. So I can't decide. Possibly the best place would have been to sit it on top of that, on top of the floral paper, but it doesn't end up there because it was a little bit too close to the top up there, and I wanted to do something in the top left-hand corner. I do a little mini cluster up there, and then of course the title would have been too close, so it doesn't end up quite where it is at the moment. So I'm just picking out all the hearts, all the chipboard hearts. I'm just pushing out of the sheet because I know I want to use as many hearts as I can squeeze onto this layout. And they're just going for all the different ones, trying to punch them out without taking the backing paper off, so that I can stick them, put them in place without them sticking. And I've got these little flare badges. I love these little flare badges, but I just could not get it onto the layout. I kept trying. I'm not very good at finding places for flare badges for some reason. And then this is the ephemera pack. And immediately I picked this one out. This is a tag saying that you have my heart. And I thought, yeah, that's got to go on. And underneath, that little banner says "Hello Beautiful." And again, that was a must. And I'm just going through, picking out some flowers and some bits and pieces that I think I might want to use. And I do use some of them, obviously not all. Trying to pick out the colours that will reflect what's in the layout. And I'm just putting a bit of twine on that little tag. And now I'm just trying to pick out a few pieces that I might use. There's a couple of butterflies that sort of hang around for a bit, but they don't stay there. It's such a busy background. I had to be a bit careful not to overdo the embellishing. So butterflies, pretty as they are, they don't stay on the layout because I think that was just too many different embellishments. So I've concentrated mainly on flowers and hearts, I think, is what I've mostly gone for. And I cut this little cut apart piece that I've just cut up there. That's going to have the date, which I shall put on in a moment. So I've got a gold heart, gold glittery heart in the top left with a little banner that says beautiful, and there's going to be another bit added to that. So now I'm just doing my date, or the date she was born. I thought that needs to be fairly prominent, so I'm using my planner stamp to do the date and the year, because I think it's important that has quite a important role, quite a prominent place on the layout, because that is the day we all want to remember. That's going to be just tucked under the photograph there, under there. I'm just sticking down. I've got a little flower that I thought looked quite pretty, just to fill in that space. I want to try and make this cluster look fairly coherent, so I'm sticking them all in a few bits. I want to try and bridge that gap between the bits of washi that are sticking up and the Hello Beautiful banner. So I found another little flower just to stick there, just to join it all together and make it look like a coherent cluster. And those couple of flowers then go quite well there to go round the tag. And just another little heart just in that little corner there, and that's that cluster complete. That butterfly is not going to stay there. It looks okay, but I just felt it was too much. There you go, it's gone. So now I'm doing something out of sight. Oh, there we are. Sticking down my little gold heart. There isn't actually any other gold on the layout, so it does rather stand out. But then a lot of it gets covered up anyway with purpley and turquoisey things. So there's the little die cut of Beautiful that was in the pack, and then I'm going to add to that one of the chipboard words, which is memories. So I'm just putting Beautiful Memories up in the corner there. And now I'm just going to stick. So I've decided that actually I'm going to bring down the title to sit right on top of the floral paper. I think it works okay because it's enough of a contrast with the background, even though it's quite busy behind it. It does stand out enough, I think, and it just gives it that little bit of separation from the cluster in the top left corner. And just adding a couple of little hearts here and there. All those little chipboard hearts that I punched out, they're all going to have a place. Now see, I've got some pretty little flowers clustered on the left hand side. So that's the finished layout, and I just thought at the end I would also show you another layout I completed when I went to my scrapbook club, because I rather like this layout as well, and those two photos of Alyssa are so beautiful. I just thought, and this is from the Simple Stories romance collection, which I thought went beautifully with these photos. So that was that one. So thank you for watching, and there'll hopefully be another one soon. Goodbye.